All right, well, let's get started. So I just have a little bit of an opener of what I wanted to share or jump off of. Um, I think a lot of women are hitting a wall right now, not because we're failing, but because we're exhausted from performing a version of ourselves that was never sustainable. Beautiful but not vain, productive but effortless, soft but never angry, aging but not visibly, healing but attractively, spiritual but still consumable. Because our entire purpose within the patriarchy is to be a resource and to be a commodity. And in order for us to step outside of that, we need to be aware of what's going on and what we've signed up for, what we've allowed ourselves to do and be and consent to. And I think that awareness is most definitely the first step. I think many women are beginning to realize that they've spent their lives being watched, and that so much of what we do is just crafted around creating a safety bubble for ourselves, but also a level of acceptance by others. Um, so just for a moment, let's take a moment to breathe, because I think getting into a good headspace and mind space and thinking this through requires grounding ourselves a little bit. So let's just do a few deep breaths. We're going to do 2 inhales in and then a long exhale out through our mouths. And we're going to do that for 4 rounds, and then we'll get into the rest of the podcast. So inhale once, then twice to like top it up, and then exhale through your mouth. Do it again. Inhale once, twice, and exhale through your mouth. And just 2 more rounds. Inhale once, twice, and blow it out. And then one last time. Inhale once and then twice, and then blow it out. Beautiful. And just return to breathing the way you normally do. That's a very calming thing for your nervous system. If you had an elevated heart rate, it can bring it down. And it's just a reminder to your body that you are safe and we can be here right now. So, who else here is exhausted? I'm exhausted on so many levels, just exhausted from trying to keep up with the constant demands of being a woman in this world, being a mother, being a daughter, being a wife, and being somebody who runs her own business. It's exhausting, but there's also this extra layer of just spiritual exhaustion, of feeling like you never can truly trust yourself, your intuition, that you need to always externalize your healing, your processing, and that everyone else is going to have the answers for you, but you have no answers for yourself. And that's exhausting. And to think that, somehow you're supposed to constantly be on 24/7 rather than having a period of fallow, or a winter, season where your body can rest and recharge just like everything else on this planet does. Um, and so, like, as people who are cyclical, we're very much attached to the cycles of the earth, the moon. This world that we live in is so contrary to all of that. So when you're not a being that runs on a seven days a week, 24-hour schedule, and then you're forced into that mold, it's no wonder that we have so many chronic conditions going on, so many autoimmune disorders or diseases. Um, like we're being pushed to our max and asked to be something so contrary to what we are innately. And then we're taught and told by the medical system that we're too much, that what we're experiencing in our bodies is just anxiety or depression. and we're often just dismissed or shoved aside with those labels, or, we're told that we're too much or we're a difficult, patient. So if any of that sounds familiar to you, hello. You aren't too much, and you also are not difficult. You're just working with the wrong people who don't actually understand your anatomy and physiology. Um, so yeah, I know this is strange for me because normally I go live with somebody else, and so it's a little strange to be like talking to myself on the camera without really interaction with other people. Um, so yeah, feel free to drop a hello or something in the chat if any of this is resonating with you or if you're enjoying this so far. Um, but yeah, I mean, we're taught to constantly be on, constantly be a certain way, but we also are never right, even if we choose that way. We're too loud or we're too quiet. We're, too feminine or not feminine enough. We're, it's just you cannot win when you try to play by the rules of the patriarchy. It's meant to suppress and oppress, and you will just be trapped. And martyring yourself isn't cute. As I said when I went live a couple days ago with my friend Mila, we were chatting a little bit about that. How martyring yourself isn't cute, and it's not cute to constantly be giving up your needs and desires. Double blinds all around. Yeah, thank you. Um, But, I mean, you're not supposed to age naturally by any means, and if it's visible, then all of a sudden you're seen as less valuable because, in the society, we are seen as commodities rather than assets, rather than, um, somebody who is equal to those who are in power currently. And when you're in that position all of the time, it can be really confusing to ever feel like, you have safety. Um, and then, there's the whole narrative of, who are you going to choose, the man or the bear? And it's pretty obvious which one is a safer option. But I think that, something I heard pretty recently was this phrase that, we're the only creatures who choose to actively live with our, like, predator, our number one predator, and that really resonated with me. Annie said, "Yeah, it's not cute, but also very understandable why you would feel that's how we have to act to be accepted." Absolutely. Yeah, it's very, very understandable because it's what we were programmed to do from a young age. We were taught that we should be subservient, meek, quiet, easy to contain, easy to control. Um, there's actually it just kind of came to me, yesterday when I was chatting with my bestie, Crystal, who I was gonna go live with today, but I think she had something come up. But we were chatting a little bit about just the whole idea of, predatory societies and how there's so much in the way of, pedophilia and things like that in so many different societies. And I was like, yeah, well, a great metric to kind of measure against would be, do they allow women to age gracefully and without constraints or without oppression? Is it seen as something that is beautiful and wonderful and truly accepted, or is it something that is, uh, well, they try to eradicate or try to dismiss or push aside or like, keep in the dark as much as possible that women age. Um, and so that to me was just like an aha moment of like, yeah, that's what we should be looking for, as far as like targets of societies that need changing, shifting, and perspective. Um, you know, I think I can't honestly think of one right now that I'm like, "Oh, yeah, women can age and not be seen as lesser." But if you can name any, please drop it in the comments. I would love to know more about it. Um, but yeah, I mean, women are taught that we should be as childlike as possible for as long as possible. And, even seeing some of the celebrities who are in their 70s and 80s trying to look like they're 20, or younger, with so many different interventions and surgeries, it's kind of sickening because, they've lived so many decades, the amount of wisdom that they hold, and here they are trying desperately to appease the patriarchy and to hide themselves essentially, instead of truly embracing who they are and the time that they've lived on this earth, which is an honor because for a long time people were not able to live as long as, past their 40s or whatever, from disease and other things that came up. um, so it truly is an honor to be in this place and to be able to share wisdom, and I definitely take it as such. I'm super honored that I have so many people here in this community who are interested in hearing what I have to share, and that I am able to have this platform. You guys are amazing. I am so honored by you. Whew, that it's just such a heavy topic to think about and to talk about, but it's really necessary right now. Yeah, even just thinking about, like, my childhood and how I grew up, because I grew up in, a Pentecostal evangelical cult. I have 7 siblings, and I was one of 5 girls. I was the middle of 5 girls, and so we were very much taught, that you should be quiet, you should listen and obey, and, that you shouldn't have a voice, and if you do speak out, you will be, you know, experience corporal punishment and not enjoy your life for sure, to say the least. Uh, and so that was my kind of upbringing and my beginning, and so learning to clear that blockage in my throat chakra was huge. But, still seeing my mom right now, she still has it, she hasn't been able to move past that, and so being in my mid-30s today and having processed a lot of that and seeing how much further along on the journey I am, I feel so honored to be in this place and to know that I'm not passing on that to my daughter. She very much speaks her mind and knows exactly what she wants, and I love it. It's a little challenging sometimes, but I absolutely love it. And sometimes it makes me laugh or smile when she's being particularly ornery because I'm just like, man, if I did any of this when I was a kid, there's no way I would have suffered greatly for it, and to just be able to see her blossom and be herself completely, and to know that she's safe in doing so is so incredible for my heart and for little me to see and be able to help with. Um, but yeah, I just feel like this crone energy has been so on my heart for the past year, and that's why I've shared a lot of articles about it, because it's more than just a frame of time, a period of time in somebody's life. And the crone isn't, it doesn't have to be that you're a female or that you identify in a certain way, or that you're in a specific body. The crone is really more of an energy. It's that embracing completely of who you are and no longer giving a fuck about what other people think about you or how you look. You're just completely and totally unabashedly you. And so that to me is the crone energy. And I think it's so desperately needed right now, to stop caring so much about what other people think. I was chatting with, because I went to actually have somebody cut my hair for the first time in like 6 years. I shaved my head about 6 years ago, and have just kind of done my own like trimming of it ever since then. And but this time I was like, hey, I kind of would like somebody else to do it. So I found this really amazing, like little witchy hair salon that's local, and I went in and the lady who was helping me was in her, early 20s. I could tell just by the conversation and stuff, kind of where she was at in life, and she was mentioning, just feeling this need to please people and to make them happy with what she was doing. And I was like, just a little bit of wisdom from somebody who's now in their mid 30s. Um, it gets better with time. Once you get into your 30s, I really enjoy being in my 30s much more than my 20s, and I can only imagine how it's gonna be in my 40s or 50s and beyond. But the sooner you learn how to no longer care about what other people think of you, the better. Your life will just start to accelerate in ways you never thought possible because so much energy is allotted to just pleasing and keeping people happy with you, masking like crazy. Um, I didn't find I was on the spectrum until I turned 33, and it was at that point that things really started to shift for me and my understandings of how much I masked and how often, how frequently I was just not myself. And, removing that mask along with the normal one that so many, women in this world and girls in this world wear was quite the challenge, and I'm still working on it. Um, but yeah, we need these crones to come forth, to come out. We need to have that healing energy, that wisdom, because interestingly, if you think about it, men can reproduce for their entire lives, and women have a limited time of reproduction. So it's like this beautiful little signal from, you know, I guess, creation that we are meant to, at some point, stop procreating and start offering something else to the world, which is our wisdom, and to be able to pass it on before we pass on. And so, like, we truly are the wisdom keepers, the holders of wisdom. We're meant to lead and heal and be at the center, guiding society back to balance, because that balance exists so strongly within us. We have such a strong connection to the cosmos and to, everything below, to the Earth's core. We are so connected to both that, it's essential we start to share and start to truly trust that intuition that we all have. Um, but yeah, so I just I don't I don't know how else to put it other than, like, we need to unfuck ourselves. And stop giving a fuck about what other people think of us. Just start embracing who we are and taking little steps each day. If you were worried about wearing something or not wearing something, whether it's, do your hair or wearing makeup or wear your pajamas someplace, just do little rebellious things that test you a little bit and stretch you a little bit. And you'll find out that, like, the more you do stuff like that, the more free you feel, the more of yourself you become, and the less likely you are to just kind of cave when people are trying to put those parameters or that cage around you again. Um, it's those little acts that add up and create that shift for you. And when I was going through my master's program, I was studying sustainable food systems, and there was a book that I was reading called Switch, and it's all about kind of this concept of how do we make big changes in the world. And in there's a few different really beautiful stories about trying to, heal different cultural challenges, whether it's like food scarcity or different things like that. And it's always through observation and making little changes on a broad scale consistently over time. And so that's what I encourage you to do, is just start to notice the little habits you have that are ways that you've caved, little caves you've dug for yourself, and how those have accumulated into a hole that you feel trapped in. Um and start to dig your way out, or rather unbury yourself, or maybe scrape some soil in so then you can climb out. However we want to think about that. Um because it's not a lost hope, no matter how far, no matter how deep you are. There's plenty of time for you to climb out and to be the change. And if there's something specific that's been on your heart that you feel drawn to, also let this be the moment that you try, that you start whatever it is, if it's writing on Substack or it's speaking to people or I don't know, starting up a cool herbalist shop. This is your sign to start doing it, and you don't need to go buy the front storefront right now, but like do something small to shift you into that energy, and you will be surprised how quickly things start to have a windfall toward your goals, towards your dreams, and how quickly your life can change. Because I've had my life shift like that so many times, and I know as soon as something starts to feel like it's pigeonholed or like there are no signs of a way forward, that means I'm about to have a big leap in one direction or the other because it's going to reveal itself, and I just need to be ready. Um, and that's how it always goes. But man, so the crone energy is so deeply tied to witchcraft, to witches in general, and that word witch is, well, has been used to oppress women and men, but more so women for a very long time. And, when I initially was learning about the witch trials and stuff, everybody here in the States is like, oh, Salem witch trials, which, were significant. But if you aren't familiar with what was going on in Europe and Scotland and stuff, definitely look into that. I have an article about it, because it wasn't like 100 or a couple hundred people. It was tens of thousands. It was like 80,000 women or something, and some men too that were just labeled as witches because they were seen as, you know, outliers or people who were trying to go against what the patriarchy wanted, trying to heal things, trying to create independence, in any sort of way. Women who own property on their own were automatically labeled a problem because they wanted to steal their land. Um, but they were crones. Like, that's the energy, because they were like, "I don't care what's going on and what you expect of me. I'm gonna step in to this energy, embrace it fully, and be that shift." And, I mean, if it weren't for them, who knows where we would be today. Um, and I'm blessed to have so many people in my life who are fully embodying that energy, and truly being an example to me at this point. I've had to find them because I didn't innately have that within my life. I don't have like I guess an older generation within my family that is fully in that space where they can be that for me. Um, I am kind of doing what I think a lot of millennials are doing right now, which is parenting in both directions. And it's a lot. But it's also a beautiful thing and something I'm grateful I get to do. But like my examples as far as like people I'm learning from are those who I've found and not so much people in my family circle, at least not right now, maybe in the future. Um, yeah, but, the crone is not the end of womanhood. She is the end of performance, and, like, we are moving, I think, as a society in 2 directions. There's kind of a split between those of us who are waking up and choosing to change, and then those of us who are going backward in so many ways. And unfortunately, the feminine and women in this world are so powerful, which is why they have to work so hard to suppress us. But we're so powerful that, when we choose to cave and when we choose to lend our energy to something, it will go very quickly in that direction, um, because we're powerful manifestors. Like, our bodies literally are portals from the cosmos. And so it it is that is the linchpin right there, the internalized patriarchy, and waking up to that existing in ourselves and then eradicating it as much as possible and getting back to more of a circular society, more of a horizontal one where we aren't competing, we're collaborating on the regular. Um, and just finding ways to not be as perfect. Whatever perfect means, tolerating less disrespect from those around us who we would normally just allow to maybe steamroll us or like say things that were disrespectful because we're worried about I guess the repercussions from it. Being willing to speak our minds unapologetically is going to be a huge shift. And I know that's a hard one for a lot of us, to stop shrinking, stop over explaining ourselves, become harder to manipulate because we start to see so well what's going on. Um, a woman who no longer needs permission because we become very difficult to control when we no longer need permission. And then I wanted to chat a little bit just about the whole idea of reclaiming aging. So that's something I've been thinking about a lot lately, as I'm getting more gray hairs on my head. I know you can't really see them with whatever this filter is on Substack, but I'm getting more gray hairs, more wrinkles, just more signs of aging, in my mid-30s and not sleeping for the past 4 years since having our daughter. And all of these things kind of wear on you, especially when you're told over and over again, like, this should not be happening to you, and 40 is the new 20. Um, and so for me, I've been trying really hard to seek out women who have chosen to age gracefully and to see those as my pillars of strength, those as my examples of who I want to become, so then I can also be that for the next generation too, rather than focusing so much on, women who are fighting desperately to not age, because I think it's hurting us so much. And it's just playing into that whole game of, seeing children as the ideal, the pinnacle of attractiveness, which is absolutely abhorrent, but it is the way that our society is set up. It's in the music, it's in the movies, it's everywhere. And so the more that we shift that ideology, which starts with us, it really does, because we need to be those examples. When we're no longer playing into it, then these young girls can see, oh, I don't need to be permanently a child in order to be accepted or to be valuable. Um, yeah, embrace it all. He went fully salt and pepper at 30 and never looked back. I love that. And it's so beautiful. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but I'm actually I was teaching on TikTok and then moved over to Substack. But one of the witchy creators over on TikTok, her name's Jordan, and she has really beautiful salt and pepper curly hair, and she's now, I think she just turned 40, and she's just completely embracing that part of herself, and I just love seeing that and encouraging more and more of that in our futures, and just having that sign of like, hey, I lived a happy life, I have smile lines, like, that's a normal thing to have. You shouldn't be trying to get rid of that. That's like a really positive sign. Having more confidence and just going outside without a face on, whatever that means to you. Because some of us wear more or less on our faces, but when I was in high school, I used to put on makeup every single day. It was like without fail, I was terrified to not wear something on my skin. And as I got further and further into my 20s, I just was so sick and tired of the feeling of it on my face that I stopped. And I'm so grateful I did, because it was taking up so much of my mind space, just trying to perform and be a certain way. And that's not to say you should never wear it or that there's a problem with wearing it. But if you're wearing it because you're trying to hide yourself or to not be yourself, then I think it might be something to think about and reflect on and maybe process. So for me, it's like, maybe twice a year I'll wear something on my face other than some moisturizer or whatever, but, like, it's it's not about the makeup, it's about that feeling that it's giving your body. Like, is it masking who you are? Don't wear it as a mask to hide yourself. You're a beautiful being, and we need you. Um, and then just having, like, really that deep emotional honesty with yourself about choices that you're making, why you're making them, and not to judge yourself for them, but just to reflect, um, on, like, why you keep allowing your boundaries to be stepped over or completely blown away, why you keep allowing certain people into your inner circle or into your energy, when they don't deserve it, and they've made it very clear, that they don't deserve it. And I think this is probably one of the hardest things for those of us who have, parents or siblings who are narcissistic or have, other really toxic traits to, find ways to have boundaries with them instead of, um sorry, have boundaries with them instead of allowing them to continue to do the cycles that they're doing. Because we think it's being so loving and kind to allow that to continue, but actually what we're doing is quite the opposite. It's not selfless or loving to continue to allow somebody to hurt themselves and to hurt others. It is selfless and kind to put up those boundaries so then they have the opportunity to grow, because without it, they probably won't. And that's been a really challenging thing for me to learn. But since I have started, it's amazing how much energy I have had returned to me, from no longer being depleted and wasting so much of my time on it as well. Um, there's nothing like coming back to yourself and having energy returned to you when you've been putting out so much to try and fix or try to remediate a situation. Um, I have a brother who is actually I have 2 brothers who fought in the army, and one of them is 100% disabled, and the other one is, I think, around 80% disabled from their service, and, the one who's 100% disabled, before he had his rating, my husband and I spent years taking him to appointments and trying to get him help and being verbally abused for years, and in a very codependent relationship with him, trying desperately to figure out solutions and get him the help that he needed. And we realized that being there to that degree was not beneficial for him in the long run. He needed some more boundaries, a little more space, and thankfully he has a lot of people in his life that really love and care about him. And so my parents kind of stepped into that role and have taken over. But he was able to get his rating and get some more assistance, but like it's his journey and I can't fix him. And I also cannot be a spigot that he gets to just turn on and suck the life out of, you know? Um, so that's not beneficial either. So it's a balance, and there's a lot of processing and healing that's going to need to happen for him on his own. But I'm grateful that I was able to learn the lesson I needed to through that situation and hopefully not repeat it again because it's not a healthy one. And if you're going through it right now, I'm sorry, but you also are very much seen right now and understood, and you are held in my love. And may you find your way out of that. Um, but yeah, just leaving the performance behind, caring less about being likable, reclaiming your intuition, which so many of us have been taught that we should not have, that it doesn't exist, that it's anxiety or something else, which I actually have an article coming out. I think it's, let's see here, today is Wednesday. I think it's coming out today or tomorrow. I'm trying to remember when I scheduled it for, but it's about anxiety versus intuition and just this struggle we tend to have of understanding what is what. And to think that we even have intuition after all of these years of allowing ourselves to be pulled around and manipulated by the system and by people in our lives. Um, there's a lot to heal from, but also I hope that my space and this community will be a great reminder to you of just how powerful you are and how you most definitely still have intuition. And this is your sign, your time to reclaim it, to jump back into those spaces of trusting yourself. And each time you do, that's a moment you should hold on to and smile about and just appreciate and thank yourself for choosing to trust once again. And you'll start hearing it more and more, that intuition picking up and speaking to you more clearly, more loudly. But yeah, and I had just one little section that I was gonna wrap up with, just talking about the cultural shift happening right now, and then if you guys have any questions you'd like to ask before I kind of close out, let me know. Um, but yeah, and if not, that's totally fine too. This was very impromptu. And I just thought it would be a really fun thing to do and to just get on here and chat because it's been a while since I have. And if you enjoyed this, please let me know because I will definitely try to do it more. Um, but just talking about how many women are collectively waking up right now, realizing they're burnt out, realizing that hey, my brain actually is different. And, now we are able to have more of an understanding and awareness around being, diagnosed late in life with autism, ADHD, a lot of the things that were seen as only conditions that boys were allowed to be diagnosed with. Uh, Realizing that we're a part of this hustle culture where we are constantly go, 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 and just stepping back and saying, hey, we don't have to do it the way that they're telling us to do it. We make up, more than half the population. If we chose to step back and change the way we interact, things would shift quite quickly. Questioning our beauty standards. What is beauty? Like, why is something beautiful to one versus another? And like, why are we accepting that as a form of beauty? Like, how much of our programming from a young age to, see wrinkles or stretch marks as something to kind of like cringe about versus see them as beautiful scars or, cosmic lines on our bodies. Yeah, just shifting the perspective, being aware of what we have internalized, choosing slower ways to do things. I don't know about you guys, but as somebody who has, well, I was diagnosed with complex PTSD in my early 20s, and as somebody who's been processing that, because I don't know if I could say I don't have that anymore, but I would say as somebody who tends to kind of do things at a rapid rate, whether it's cleaning or cooking, just being aware of that and slowing down and breathing and saying, hey, there isn't a monster chasing you. It's okay if things take 10 minutes longer. No one's gonna die. You can slow down. It is possible, and it's actually a really good idea for your body to do that. Um, those sorts of shifts in your awareness can make a huge difference in your nervous system, and your healing journey. They definitely have for me. So I just wanted to share a little bit of that. Um, and anyone who's left a religion or a spiritual path that wasn't serving them. There's a lot of programming that goes into you from those sorts of systems, and it can be difficult to eradicate it or even be aware of just how deeply it runs. I cannot tell you how many times I've had different phrases said, and all of a sudden I have like a song pop up in my mind, or I have like a whole like several sentences come to mind that are like repeated over and over to me or have been in the past. And man, it's shocking how long that just stays imprinted on your mind. But the less we see it as like a problem and we can just be aware of it and kind of release it, I think the less likely it is to continue to exist in our hologram. We can start letting it go. I don't think women are becoming bitter. I think women are becoming honest about what's going on. Uh, I think that, there's this clarity that we're all having at this point in time. It's not that motherless.com, is a recent thing, or that the Rape Academy is something that just happened. It's been around for quite some time. These are not recent events. It wasn't breaking news. This is stuff that has existed. It's just, now people are starting to care more about it. There's more capacity to talk about and share on these issues at this point in time, but it's no less like or no more common than it was before. It's just we can actually share and talk through these problems now, and on a, on a large scale, in split seconds, everything can be just shared with the world, which is incredible. But it's also so exhausting. It's so exhausting to know just how deeply all of this runs. But I think choosing to not allow it to stagnate us or paralyze us, which is what, they're kind of hoping it will do, the more that we're incapacitated, the less likely we can be able to do anything to shift, what's going on in the world, create change. So it's essential that we don't allow things to freeze us, that we're able to have engaged detachment, which is being aware of situations but not pouring our emotional state so much into it that we can't move, we can't do, because we need you. We need all of us right now to make a difference, to make that shift, and to be a part of this revolution of healing. Um, this is not a collapse. It's a remembering. We're remembering who we are. We're remembering what we're supposed to be here doing. And we're natural leaders. As women, we are born to be leaders. It's in our DNA. I mean, the largest cell in the body is, an egg. And the egg actually chooses to allow the sperm into the cell. It's not the way that we were taught in biology. Sperm does not get to, outchase its other sperm buddies and then, do whatever it wants with the egg. No, the egg is making the choices the entire time. And just remember, that's us. We are the egg. We are the origin story. We are the leaders, and we need to step up and start making the choices and being the shift, and not allowing the fear to paralyze us, because that's what they're banking on. They want us to be paralyzed, and I refuse to do so. Um, so yeah, that's kind of what I had for today. Do you guys have any questions that you want to ask? It can be about anything I've talked about or something else. And I have a few questions too if you want me to lead the way. Um, because I know many of you are probably tuning in from a variety of different places, maybe even at work, I don't know. But if so, I hope I'm entertaining you enough to make it less boring, whatever task you're doing. Yes, you're right. Because the smaller that you are, the less, likely you are to be uncontrollable, and if we actually take up the space that we're meant to take up in the world, um, then, nobody's gonna be able to control us, and that's just too bad for the patriarchy. Thanks, Annie, I really appreciate it. So I have a few questions for you guys to think about, moving forward. When did you first realize you were performing? At what age or what point? What expectations feel heaviest for you right now? Is it, a simple expectation of like how you look, or the way you speak or interact, or what is it for you? What parts of yourself are you reclaiming right now? And I'll probably do a little note after this, and if you guys want, you can chime in with some of your answers in there, and we could keep the conversation going. Um, because I love to chat more with you guys about it. Um, what does the crone archetype mean to you? And what would your life look like if you stopped trying to be endlessly likable? I know some of those questions are a little harder than others, and maybe I'll, just pop this into a little note for you guys that you can respond to, because I think it's way more fun when we're able to interact and actually have a conversation back and forth about this, and you can take your time to respond to. Um, just a few things in closing. I think the world taught women that our highest purpose was to remain desirable. But there comes a moment in many women's lives when something ancient begins to stir beneath the conditioning. A voice that says, I am allowed to age, I'm allowed to change, and I'm allowed to become more honest, more visible, and more human. And maybe the crone was never something to fear. Maybe she is what happens when a woman finally comes home to herself. So on that note, I'm gonna sign off on here, and like I said, I'll drop a little note on my page, and I'd love to hear you guys, hear a little bit more from you guys about what you think, and if you have any interactions with those questions I mentioned. Um, I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here and being a part of this discussion. If you want me to do more lives, let me know. And yeah, you guys are amazing. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and if I don't see you before the weekend, have a great weekend too. Bye.